Gregorio F. Zaide, also referred as Goyo by his townmates, was a Filipino author, historian, and politician. He was born on May 25, 1907, in Pangasinan, Laguna, Philippines. Zaide graduated valedictorian of his class in Laguna High School. He became the first professor emeritus of history at Far Eastern University. He became one of the founders of the International Association of Historians of Asia and was elected as president of the Philippine Historical Association and served in this capacity for 3 terms, between 1965, 1966, and in 1971. In the year 1957, Zaide was the first Asian to win the United Nations Study Award.
Gregorio Zaide, known as the Dean of the Filipino Historiographers, obtained his degree in Masters in Art in the University of the Philippines, year 1931. Later on, he took up AB and PhD degrees in 1934 at the University of Santo Tomas. Zaide, a renowned writer and historian, finished more than 500 articles in history published in both national and international newspapers and academic journals. He authored about 67 books, which were adapted as textbooks for high schools and college. In a word, he was a credible author.
Governor Wood's administration was full of usurpation and arbitrary acts. Zaide represented the Filipinos' strong objection under his oppressive governance. Seeing their hardships, he was urged to file an impeachment petition to safeguard the rights and acquire justice, and be able to overthrow Governor Wood from his position. The writing of the document takes place just over 25 years after the Philippine independence by the hands of the Americans, when the Philippines was under the sovereignty of the United States.
Governor Leonard Wood's governance resulted to the decrease of autonomy, the destruction of the Philippines' constitutional system, and the reversal of America's Philippine policy. It was stated in the document that he has unduly interfered in the administration of justice. He refused to ratify the laws that were necessary to the public good, which made strained relations between the Filipinos and Americans. It is when, after 20 years of civil government marked by mutual understanding and loyal cooperation between Filipinos and Americans, the Philippines took a downfall when Major General Leonard Wood was sent to rule. The expectation of the Filipinos that the spirit of cooperation would be maintained and the work of political emancipation would be completely were all discarded. Contrary to the expectations of Filipinos, the conduct of Major General Leonard Wood of the government has been characterized by a train of usurpations and arbitrary acts, resulting in the curtailment of our autonomy, the destruction of our constitutional system, and the reversal of America's Philippine policy.
The Philippines is like a jail where Filipinos are like a puppet, because they risk the safety of our country, because they thought that Americans are there to help them for the betterment of our country. On the first 20 years, everything was fine, not until after the succeeding years when Major General Leonard Wood took over the government. Everything was under his control, from the government officials to laws. One important concept in this document is the Executive Order Number 37, which was issued by Major General Leonard Wood himself. This executive order declares that laws creating and defining the powers of the Board of Control, which is authorized to vote the stocks owned by the government in certain private corporations, are absolute nullities. It was on 1902 when the battle between two countries, Philippines and America, ended. It was also by that time the organic law was established. Americans gave the Filipinos the assurance that them being the Philippines is not in any form to conquer the land, but to see the Philippines rise and gain confidence in governing its people until they are ready for independence. Thus, for the first 2 decades of them inhabiting our country, sincerity and mutual respect for each other is sought. The Filipinos also by this era were given rights such as freedom of speech. America seemed to keep its promise by helping the Philippines develop, making it as the Paris of Asia, thus making the Filipinos believe that they are definitely in good hands. However, America's relationship with the Philippines at that time was not what it seemed to be. When Major General Leonard Wood was sent to the Philippines, the Filipinos thought that the connection of two countries will continue. Contrary to what the Americans showed in the past 2 decades, Major General Leonard Wood did the exact opposite. Selfish actions that are for his own benefit and gain were made, thus making his reign inclusive for his own interests. His actions excluded the rights and liberties of the Filipino people, as well as those laws which he thinks are irrelevant. I learned that our relationship with the Americans at that time was not always good. Just like the era of Major General Wood, there were many times that the rights of the Filipinos are exploited. However, it is also worth mentioning that by this time, the Filipinos are gaining their confidence in fighting for what they think is right. Yes, they ask for the help of the American people, but believed that it is a stepping stone in achieving independence.
The relevance of the document lies on the transcript which recorded the Philippine history during the colonization of Americans. It presented how the sovereignty shaped the Filipinos to be independent and brave, with the hope that America will fulfill its promise of freedom to the Philippines. Its countrymen patiently obliged with the conditions imposed by the colonizers. The document also addressed that under the administration of Governor General Wood, the laws have been altered to gain power and to satisfy his own interests, resulting the constitutional system to be deconstructed and put the Philippine economy into grave danger.
Looking back on Philippines history, we are able to reflect on our past to further understand the consequences we are facing in the present times. To historians, may they deem the happenings of the past valuable to raise awareness and uncover the cause of our cultural origins. By observing the previous economic and cultural trends, one may be able to predict what provisions may be given to increase our country's economic status. To the Filipino youth, may they acquire the good citizenship portrayed by our